are live. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of Respect the Craft. This is episode number 156.
156.
It is
I
150.
I should play that number in Lotto, Ray, you know?
It might be a lucky number, but I am joined once again here by absolute Alvin Alvarez. Good evening, sir. How are you doing?
You know what, Ray? I'm happy to see you. I really am. I truly am, because I really do like you. I truly do. You know, it just stinks that you decided to back a cheater, but it's okay. We can work on that. But I want to thank you for having me here in a nice, cordial interview. I'm excited to talk about my career in professional wrestling.
Again, it's gonna be, like I said, it's gonna be nice and cordial. We're gonna be civil. I'm gonna let those comments you just made pass by, because again, I want to be nice. I want to be nice. I want to make sure we get through this here, because I do want to be there to see July 15th. I want to be there in Bay Shore, Battle in Bay Shore. I want to be there. So we got to make sure that goes through. So Alvin, now that we're doing this cordially, I have to ask you. You heard the name of the podcast. I want to now know, for Alvin Alvarez, when you hear the term, the craft, what does that mean to you?
Professional wrestling in its whole. So to me, the craft is the art of professional wrestling. To be able to create something and create an emotional roller coaster for fans to follow and then cheer at the end, that's the craft.
Gotcha. Okay, perfect. So now let's do this, because I know the questions usually for a lot of people, what was it that got you into love wrestling? But I always want to get into the mindset of, what was it that made you decide to want to be a wrestler? Because I feel like we all have that match that it's like that made us fall in love with it. That it's like, yeah, I don't know what it is, but I have to keep watching. I have to keep watching this. But what was it that made you decide, no, I don't want to just be a fan of this. I want to be a part of this.
You know, it started in the backyard, to be honest. I was a big fan of wrestling, just like any other wrestler now. But the difference to me is we started like a backyard fan, like the old school backyard stuff. And then from there, just being in front of a live audience, it brought something in me that I noticed that I could do well. You know, I could naturally talk to people well. I felt like my charisma and my facials were good even in the backyard. I was told that, you know, by we used to do back in high school. So people I went to high school with would always tell me stuff like that. So I kind of knew I had something. And even when I started going to the NYWC shows back in 2003, you know, as animated as I was in the crowd, you know, even the wrestlers, guys like Papadon would say, man, you should probably join the school. You know, you're probably good at it, blah, blah, blah. You know, I'm like, yeah, eventually. Like, I always know I wanted to do it, but I just wasn't ready yet. So I went off to college. And then out of college, I was like, all right, let's see what this is about. So, yeah, so probably in the backyard, I would say, was my first real feeling that I could do this. And I could probably be pretty good at it.
Gotcha. Okay, so now let's get into that. Once you're in it, now you're actually doing the thing. You've decided to train. You've decided this is the path you want to take. What was that moment for you that you realize now you made that right choice and this is it? This is what we're going to continue to do. It's not just I really like this. It's like, this is now a passion and I have to keep going with Alvin Alvarez.
Oh, man. You know, it's really one match at a time. So I don't think there was a real moment where I was like, okay, let's do this. It always was, let's do this. Like, it never was like a click for me. Like, once I decided to train, that was the moment that I'm taking this as far as I could go. You know, but like a lot of guys were very end focused, like WWE focused. Like, I have to go to WWE. Like, you know, when I started my era back in 2010, 2011, it was more, you know, I need, like, a guarantee I can go to WWE. Like, the indies weren't a cool thing to do back then, you know, like, it was WWE, it was TNA, but it was really WWE. You know, you had kind of TNA, but TNA was like, all right, like, maybe, you know, but the real thing was WWE. So that was the end goal. But for me, it was, I never, like, I knew that would be cool to get there, but that wasn't my goal. So I felt like odd, like everyone's talking about WWE, and I'm like, that's not a goal for me. Like a goal for me is just to wrestle and entertain people. Like that's what I wanted to do. So right from the beginning, it was like, this is what I want to do. So right from match number 1, I knew I wanted to entertain people, and let's wherever it takes me, takes me.
Gotcha. No, I can respect that. And again, to see that genuine thought process of it's again taking it match by match. Yeah. If it goes that direction, then hey. But it's one of those of let's see where it goes, and that's a good mindset to have. Especially you talked about just going in match 1, and you recently just competed in match, I believe 300 for you.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
Last Thursday.
So I as much as I don't want to, I do have to say congratulations on that, because that is that's a big feat. That is a big feat to make it 100 matches in a sport that definitely it's something where to get to that number definitely it pays a lot. It definitely is a lot in there, putting your body on the line. So I commend you on that.
It does. No, thank you.
And here we go. We got Serena in the chat saying, "Hey Ray and Alvin, how's it going, Serena? How's everything?" I'm surprised she's watching. I heard that other guy was doing something. He was a little busy. He was talking a lot in the comments.
Yeah, I don't know.
I was a little busy. I don't know. He was saying a lot. He was judging my honesty here. And again, we're going fine here. It's been cordial. So I don't get it.
He's in the chat already. You see this guy?
Oh man.
Put that up there on the main screen.
Again, it didn't come from me. It's Silky's a free man. He gets to do what he wants. So
fair enough. You are right. You are absolutely
it's not
right.
coming from me.
I respect that.
It's not coming from
me. Free man. He can say whatever he wants. And I hope he knows somebing might kick his teeth in if I see him next time.
Oh, and here we go. See, this is a more. I believe you'll enjoy this. And congrats on 300 matches. You have worked yourself and hard to get there. Definitely. So now let's start talking a little bit about those matches. I do want to talk to you about this, like we talked about even off the air. One of the first times I got to see you actually was at a little promotion known as Fireborough Wrestling, a place where I feel, again, if you know indie wrestling, you knew how insane Fireborough Wrestling was. Just the who's would show up. The only place for a while that was able to bring in Kenny Omega to New York City.
Yep.
And I believe still is, because I don't think technically an independent promotion has brought Kenny Omega to New York. Yeah. So again, it's one of those where, again, hats off to Troy. I know he's still around somewhere, and he's always teasing. He's always teasing it about wanting to bring it back. But hey, so from days like that, from that, let's talk about we go there. We have the relationships we're building there, the matches you had, and there's one guy that even from those days you could see you guys were both killing it there, and it took for years later that we finally see a matchup for you guys that was on that road to 300, you and Tony Nese.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about that, what that triple threat match meant to you, and just the thought process, not only going in, but the after, because I feel like that's the most important as well. Just after the fact, what that meant to you and what that match just means now going forward.
That match meant a lot, man. That match was one of those like when you hear wrestlers talk about a match they have to get through, a match they have to get to get to the next level. That's one of those matches. You know what I'm saying? I had a number of those matches early on. My early matches with Ryan Rush, Ryan Gallione were like that. My first Psycho Circus was like that. When I won the Ace Tag Team titles, my first title ever, that was like that. So those are milestones in my career that set me up for that match, because my first ever wrestling match in front of any type of audience was at a birthday party in May of 2012, and that was against Nese.
Really?
So yes, I showed a small clip of it right before the circus of my intro, his intro, and we lock up and I cut it because nobody has a copy of that match but me. I only have a copy of that match. And it was we worked that match, and then it led into like a no disqualification, not disqualification, but like a no contest type deal. But so that was my first experience wrestling in front of a crowd, was with him. And then we had another singles match. I was about a year in for the Fusion title. He was the NYWC Fusion champion, and I hate that match. I wasn't in shape for that match, and every time I watch it, I cringe. I was very heavy. I put on a lot of weight. And I wasn't satisfied with that match. and that's been eating me. It's like a monkey on my back, and it's been there for years and years. And of course, Nice wound up getting signed. So I'm like, all right. So that match I knew was further and further and further away from me. So yeah, as soon as I got the opportunity to get back, and I knew it had to happen at NYWC because I walked away from NYWC for a number of years in 2018 because differences I had with management. But I knew I can't do that match anywhere else. Like I couldn't. I thought about VPW, but it'd be odd. I thought about maybe bringing him Ace because he used to wrestle for Ace early in his career. But it had to happen at NYWC. So I know I needed to go back there to have this match. That's not the one reason why I went back there. The main reason why I went back to NYWC is to win the NYWC championship, and that's still a goal of mine. But I know I need to go back. So I wound up getting back, and then we finally was able to lay out the match where it made sense. So, and it goes back to even the backyard, man. It's like Jeff, and it's like who made who. That's like actually the moniker. I actually have the Psycho Circus shirt back here with the moniker on it. It's like who made who. And it's like, yeah, because Jeff Apollyon was the first, and he helped train Nice. And then Nice was one of my trainers. Him and Alex Jones were my trainers. So it's like who made who, and it all kind of intertwined, and it was a really cool story to tell. And it only stinks because we didn't have time to tell like a nice video package. Psycho Circus loved those like WrestleMania video packages, you know. But I tried to tell through my story. So if you were following kind of my story leading up to that match, I tried to tell like a visual story, why this match made sense to me, why it was important to me, why it was important to Nice. And then it was cool to get that rub because now he's on AEW and it's awesome. He was on the first Collision. You know, he debuted with Rusev, whatever real name is, with Rusev, and there it was. You know what I'm saying? So he's like, I kind of got the rub, which is cool. And Apollyon was kind of towards the end of his career. So it's kind of just like all like whichever way you look at it, it kind of told a cool story. You know?
Yeah, there's a lot of just different pieces in there, but definitely it tells a bigger story that I feel like, again, you told us it here, but I feel like it's even bigger than something we could understand just for you guys, just of something where it goes deeper than that. And again, that was why I wanted to bring it up as well. Yeah. I tried to bring it up the first time, but again, you didn't stop yelling, but it's not here or there. So we're doing better though. We're doing better.
We're doing well. So I'll keep on the well train.
We're doing good stories here, but it is a match where I could see it meant a lot to all of you in there, and just seeing the outcome and now what it did for you. Again, now we're on the road here. You're on 300. Matches are keeping going. We're going to be talking in a little bit about 2 upcoming matches that you have, and it feels like the road is it's continuing here. Yeah. So I do have to ask that for you. After a match like that, some might say maybe that could have been it. That could have been something where you could have just ended it there. You're good to go. Like that could have been a storybook ending for you. So for you, what is it that makes you say, you know what, I'm not done yet? There's still more that I have to. What is it that it pushes Alvin Alvarez to be like, we have to keep going here?
I still have things to do, man. Like I still have things to do in wrestling that I want to do, you know, and so it. Yeah, man. I have so many goals. You know, NYWC championship is a goal of mine. To get to Major League Wrestling is a goal of mine. To wrestle in the ECW arena is a goal of mine. For whatever promotion, Battleground, whoever runs there. So I still have set goals that I still would like to do. Getting to Japan, I want to wrestle in Japan. I want to wrestle for Mexico, either CMLL or AAA. I want to wrestle around the world. You know, I want to wrestle each style of wrestling. I want to hopefully wrestle in Germany, you know. Gotcha. I still have a lot of things I want to do. So
no, I have to bring it up just because I know for some people that's the common thing, that it's like once they get an almost like perfect ending right there. Okay, I'm done. It's good here. We're good to go. But seeing that again, it's motivating you to be like, no, there's still a lot more now that I was able to do this. Now we have to keep going and do everything else on that list.
Right.
So that's great to see.
Right. Because the match with Nice then pushed me toward when I was at AEW at the UBS Arena back in April, and then pushed me toward the dark match, which then pushed me on Dynamite. It's like I could see where this train is going. So I'm not getting off anytime soon, man.
Gotcha. No, again, I have to ask. And here we go. See, Serena's saying I dropped some knowledge earlier. I believe this is the Fireborough comment. So there you go. So this is what I do on this. Tell your buddy. This is what I do on here. This is why I'm a professional podcast. 156 episodes in. There's a reason for it. There's a reason for it.
You know what?
Fair enough. I'm telling this Serena. I'm not telling you. I'm not trying to be rude here. Again, I'm letting Serena know. And here we go. We have a lovely I believe this is coming from your side of things. So she's saying hi, Alvin. There you go. So you're getting support from everyone. Yeah. And,
Yeah,
here we
yeah.
go. Serena now saying, I think you need that VPW title too.
Hey man, I heard in the grapevine, Mr. Leo Sparrow wants to get in the ring. All right, we'll see.
Well, then again, I don't know if that's it.
We'll see.
I don't know if you want to mess with the vegans. There's a big community there. That's a big community to want to get in there with. But let's okay. Now let's talk about this because you told us some goals. It's perfect. You kind of answered another question I had anyway. So now let's go to this one. Let's go into, you talked about places, but now let's go into, are there opponents that you can share with us that you still want to get in there with? Or maybe is there some unclosed chapters that you still want to make sure you're able to put caps on that as well? If anyone comes to mind with matches like that.
No, there's a lot of guys I still want to work with, man. Oh, some guys like Alex Reynolds I still want to work with. Yeah. John Silver I never worked with. I would love to work with. Azrael, Homicide. Another match with Dan Moff would be kind of cool.
Okay.
Yeah, man. Like a lot of these guys, SATs I'd love to work. You know, we kind of teased it at Win. We'll see what happens there.
Yeah, I saw. Unfortunately, again, due to some personal reasons, I was not able to be at the last show calling the action. But I saw, in my absence, you've joined a little bit of a faction at Win now. You're part of a trio of your own, featuring some big guys though. You have the new Wrestling Is Now heavyweight champion Joey Conway in there. You have another veteran of the game and Papadon in there. Yep. Well, let's talk about that before we continue here. Yeah. What is this group about here? Where did this come about, and what is the goal here, especially at Wrestling Is Now?
We all hate PJ Savage. That's really it.
I've heard he's a hateable dude. To me, he's cool. He's been cool on the podcast. I could see he's a hateable guy.
So Papadon had the same feeling, and Joey Conway had the same feeling. So we're just in the locker room, chatting it up, and we're like, all right, so you guys are in this match. Cool. What if I do this? Joey was cool with it. Papadon shook his head. But then the question was, what do we do now going forward? We have to kind of, are we together? Like, is this a group? And then we're like, yeah, you know what? This almost reminds me of like some vintage group. And that's how the name was born. And let's roll with this, see what happens. And PJ never saw it coming.
There we go. Again, but that also led to an old friend of yours also being involved. I saw the picture at the end. You have PJ in there. You have the SATs. You also have Mega in there. So that's one where I know you guys have history. All four of you guys have some history, especially with Mega. So what are we seeing there? Is that something where, I guess, a casualty of war? Is it just it's what are we looking at here?
That's really what it is. I mean, I'm invested. Like, once we decided to do the group, I was 100% invested. So, Mega's an opponent now at this point. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have a win against Mega. You know, him and I have a history. We have a match at Ace Pro Wrestling and one of the main events there. Yeah. So we've been tag team partner. Like, he was my first match. You know, he was my tag team partner. You know, and then we've had our differences. So we battled, together, and then we got back together. You know, but at this point, he is an adversary. So that's how I had to look at it. And I tried to turn the tides. You know, Joey was getting his ass handed to him. So Papadon and I had to run out and kind of turn the tides. I took a boot to the mouth. It is what it is. We won't talk about that. But the end of the fact is that Joey kept the Win World Championship. And that's what matters.
There you go. Well, it is confirmed, I believe, on July 29th. He'll be defending that championship. So I know you're going to have your eye on that to make sure Vintage keeps the gold in the group there.
Oh, yeah.
But we'll see where that goes. And here we go. Serena now. Again, I'm not attacking. I'm just saying. I know that he likes to say some things. So that's all I'm saying. That's all.
Yeah.
But now I got to put Silky's comment up as well. Well, that did happen. A match did happen. It's He says, I want our match uninterrupted. Let's get it done, tough guy, wherever we can get it booked. He does have a win over you, unfortunately. Not trying to be disrespectful. There is a...
No, you're right. It's facts. Facts are facts. I'll be honest with that. Right? Facts are facts, and what you're spitting facts. So fair enough.
So
he doesn't have to win over me, but come on. We know it's unfair. We know KJ Mack was there, kind of gave me a little bit of a beat down. It is what it is. I got up from it, ready to go. The bell. His time will come. His time will come. Because Anthony Gangone is coming up, and he's coming up real fast. And what's going to happen is I'm going to put Dr. Sleep to sleep. So you can be there ringside watching the entire thing, and I'm going to put your boy to sleep. Not talking about you, Ray. I'm talking about Silky. Silky, I'm going to put your boy to sleep. So we could talk about that now, Ray, if you like.
Well, you know what? Just to get that out of the way here, let's talk about that because it is coming up. It is going to be a week from Saturday. Victory Pro Wrestling presents Battle in Bayshore. It will be Alvin Alvarez going head to head with Kane Industries' own Dr. Sleep, Anthony Gangone. A rematch of sorts, especially being this is a rematch from Anthony Gangone's debut in VPW here. So now I definitely know, especially with conversations with him, he's definitely looking to make the result of this one a lot different from that initial. And hopefully this one ends in a more, again, a definitive win here because we all know the aftermath of what happened in the original match between you two. You still ended up, unfortunately, again, just saying the facts here. No disrespect. You ended up on the ground again.
So. I was. Facts are facts. Listen, Ray, facts are facts. And I said this in the beginning before we went on air. I'll be honest with you, and I'll give you honesty. And you're right. Facts are facts. But you can't deny what's also fact is the numbers game. So your team likes to play the numbers game. Those also are facts. So I have something in mind to take care of those numbers game. So it's okay. So when the numbers game comes, I'll be ready to go. Those are facts.
Okay. Like I said, we're being civil here, being cordial. I have to ask you about the match because again, it is coming up. Which if you guys haven't already, for everyone listening, make sure you get your tickets so you're there to see this matchup in person, and actually, you see.
I have tickets if you need them.
Oh,
that's right.
So there you go. Go to Alvin
on my social. I have actual physical tickets for you.
There you go. Go get the tickets from Alvin. Make sure you give him. Get that money's worth. Go use the code as well. I believe there's a code of yours as well you could use. Go do that. So they throw some. You got that as well. So that kicks some to Alvin as well. And again, like I said, I want to be unbiased. I want to be neutral here, but more than likely you're going to see a nice Kane Industries just clean sweep that night. I have to say that.
Listen, you know what? You have the right to your opinion, and I can't deny that. I have to respect that. So absolutely, that's your opinion. Very cool. I have my own opinion. I think I'm going to put your boy to sleep, and I think he's one of many victims of me disbanding Kane Industries. So,
well, they've tried it before. Again, this is the reason we're here. They're trying to disband us little by little. I still feel like VPW has something to do with why KJ can't be in the building next week. And they tried to get me out of the building, but now we're here. We're having this conversation right now. We're good. We're good. We're good right now. So, but again, that Saturday, you're going to be pretty busy. I don't know. Again, after the match, I don't know how you're going to be able to do another match as well. But well, let's talk about this. As you are going to be also part of NYWC's Trust No One event. I like that title. You really can't trust no one. But it will be the NYWC Fusion Championship on the line here, as it will be Bad Brad Benson here versus Alvin Alvarez versus Dan Barry. So let's talk about this one here, what this matchup means for you going into a championship match at NYWC on July 15th.
This match is very important because I initially got the Fusion title match coming out of the Psycho Circus, my match with Nice and Apollyon. So I had a good feeling going into this match that I could regain this Fusion title. Unfortunately, Brad Benson interfered in that. So now the title was on the line against Brad Benson the month after. So I made sure I interfered in that, which leads us to me versus Brad Benson last month. That ends in a double disqualification. So guess what? Now we're here. Triple threat match for the NYWC Fusion Championship. Dan Barry defends against myself and Bad Brad Benson. And I'm walking away, Ray. 2-time NYWC Fusion champion.
There you go. So that's a big opportunity here, especially you're talking about just a cost of an opportunity, costing someone else the opportunity. We get to this culmination here. There's no way to get disqualified now. It is a triple threat match. Dan Barry, there's no championship advantage here. That's it. It's throwing it out the window. So it's one of those where it could happen. We could see that there's that 3% of a chance here. We don't know what's gonna happen here. But definitely, guys, check that out as well. Because then also we look at that poster there. It's 2 huge championship matches as well. Because look at that. Unfortunately, at NYWC, both of your vintage partners are going at it there for that NYWC heavyweight championship against the defending champion, the Big O there. So that's going to be a matchup you guys also are going to want to go see.
Oh, yeah. I'm eyes on that one, too.
Well, again, I know you said it earlier. That's a goal of yours as well. So maybe down the line, we might have to see Vintage implode at NYWC. So
we'll see. Who knows? Who knows?
You never know what could possibly happen.
Professional wrestling is who knows.
Well, I'll steal a line from the Theos. I'll say this is why you have to expect the unexpected.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
There you go. But see, Serena sees it. She's saying, "I have to admit, I'm actually surprised at how well and how nice."
Yeah, look at that. Look at
again.
this.
I promised it. I said I would be cordial. I would be civil. This is what I do here. I'm just saying. The last one, Alvin didn't let me get a word in. He was yelling the whole time. We're good. We have a nice. He's laughing right now. We're having a good time. We're enjoying.
You got to get those digs in. It's okay.
I'm like you said. We're just stating the facts here. That's all we're doing.
But that wasn't facts. That wasn't facts.
They can look back at the tape. They can look back at the tape.
Opinion are different than facts.
It's on the tape. But again, we want to keep it cordial here. We want to keep it going. There's more questions to ask. I do have more that I do want to talk to you about. Yeah. So let's keep it going here, because this is now something I do want to start adding to this, because I feel like this is a lot of wrestlers might have in their pocket as well, of just thoughts when you go into your career. So for Alvin Alvarez, for yourself, what would you say with the career you've had? We've talked about 300 matches so far. What has been your proudest moment in that ring?
The next match is my favorite moment. The next match, because just the ability to continue to do this is another moment. So I've had a lot of great moments. Don't get me wrong, a lot of great moments. Winning the NYWC Fusion title was awesome. Against Joe Gacy, who was killing it on NXT, wrestling him at the 14th annual Psycho Circus. That's really cool, because the Psycho Circus has always been a sellout event, and I believe we had 700 or 800 there. And the fact that I had a singles match for a title that I retained was awesome, and that's another moment. And to see him go on with the career he's had is awesome as well. To just be watching a guy like MJF blow up. I've had multiple conversations with just him and I, just sitting, just talking about wrestling, going over stuff, and just to see his career, and to see, I posted actually today to my Instagram the latest workout video. He's so good, man. He's so good. Even the small things of him walking out and just slightly walking in front of Adam Cole, and Adam Cole just selling it. He had it, and he's always had it then. I told him that then, or just watching his career is awesome. So that's another moment. So I've had a lot of these cool moments, and then I've always looking forward to the next moment, because you never know what that moment will be. So my favorite moments are always going to be the next one, just the ability to get back in there and be healthy and continue to do this at a top level, to go with guys like Alec Price, who unfortunately you missed at Win. We worked his style of match. He came in the locker room and he's like, "Listen, I got a cool idea." I'm like, "Let's roll with it." And it was his style of match. Wasn't my style of match. I'm an old school guy, storytelling. He has that more stuff you saw, Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay, stuff like that. And I was like, okay, I need to work that style of match for when I work Will Ospreay, for when I work Kenny Omega. I need to be able to go with them. So I said, okay, here we go. So it was a learning for me. And I put a little input there, which slowed him down a little bit. So he learned too. And it was just a phenomenal match, and it was match of the night. You can ask anybody they're not going to tell you, any of the boys aren't going to tell you, but ask anybody that watched that win show. It was match of the night. Me and Alka Price killed it. So the fact that I can go with a guy like him who's going to be signed in the next 2 years, I can still go. So it's always going to be the next one.
Gotcha. No, again, I have to ask, because I feel like that was something I'm starting to think. I feel like you have moments like that, and especially having that mentality. Again, it's something that I have to give you, that it's a great outlook of it, because now it adds that, like, not taking those moments for granted, not taking the ability to step in again the next time and the next time, taking those moments as like, it's just another match. It's like, no, it's a next match. So that's a great thing to hear.
And, we lost poor Draws, not too long ago. And, it happened at the Coliseum, right here. It's a running power bomb. It's like easy moves can change your life, man. Like, you have to just be thankful to get in there one more time,
Definitely. So let's talk about this, because I feel like this is something I wanted to ask a lot of people as well, because unfortunately it's no secret what we went through the last couple of years. There was the pandemic era of wrestling.
Yeah.
And I have to ask you, I know I could see the positivity, I see how you're thinking is, but I can imagine seeing what wrestling became for a while, the lack of, if thereof, of wrestling. What was it for you that made you still push on? I know now it's a little bit easier to have that go on to the next match, but with what we're going through, what was it that made you decide we have to keep going with this? There has to be a light at the end of the tunnel with professional wrestling.
Like I mentioned earlier in the podcast, I always had that drive from early on. So I never lost it. And actually, 2000, well, you don't lose it. You lose little interest. Every wrestler, it happens to every wrestler. So actually before the pandemic, it happened to me. 2018 going into 2019, I started to put on some weight. I left NYWC. I was only working VPW, and I was working Bree Combination Wrestling, BCW. And me and Rex were tagging with AJ Pan, with the PCA. And I felt like wrestling was just monotonous for me. Like, I had fun with Rex, always had fun with him, and we had a lot of great matches. We worked the Ugly Ducklings, like we worked Bear Country before they got signed, Joe and Tommy. I had a lot of great matches during that time, but it was just like, it wasn't fun for me. Like, I lost a little bit of fun. So when the pandemic hit, it was like perfect timing for me, because I got that break. And I kind of was like, all right, I cannot wrestle. Like, my body was kind of like, my left knee was always kind of giving me tendonitis on my left knee. So that's been bothering me a whole career. So once the pandemic hit, like, I healed from that. Haven't felt that. Like, I allowed my entire body to heal, which that's what I needed, because I was going straight for 8 years, I think, at that point. So I needed my body to heal. So the pandemic allowed me to heal and refocus and mature my character. So, because also during that time frame, I stopped drinking. So it kind of switched from that A-lister with the alcohol absolute bottle gimmick to a more changing the formula and not being the absolute liquor bottle, but being the absolute, meaning the total package. And of course, not being total package Lex Luger, but being the another.
Yeah. No, I got you.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So that's now the definition of absolute. And now I'm actually switching now to being your DJ's favorite wrestler. So I'm going to push that a little more. And then when I DJ, it'll be your wrestler's favorite DJ. So
there you go. So you're able to flip and make it work for the scenario.
So. Yeah. So I'm going to kind of roll that out, on my gear and on my entrance gear and stuff like that. So yeah, man, it's total evolution of the character, and just keep going to see where it goes.
Gotcha. No, and again, that works. That's able taking that opportunity there and taking the positive out of it, making it so it's one of those where, this is making a negative into a positive right now, where we're going through this, but it gave you not only that time to heal physically, but also mentally, finding what it is to find that fire again. That again, maybe you didn't lose it fully, but it definitely was on that point where you yourself are almost burning out of just like that love for it wasn't fully there. Where it once was.
Yep. Like, if you listen to Kurt Angle podcast, where Kurt Angle talks about him leaving WWE in 2006, on how he goes into Vince McMahon's office and he goes, I'm going to wrestle myself to death. It's like, you still love it, but it's like you need a break. You have to walk away. And these guys love it, but you need that break. Everybody has the break. Shawn Michaels has the break. Some people get it, unfortunately, through injury, but I think Triple H got that through injury. He never had a break, but then he tore his quad, so he was able to get that break through injury. And a lot of guys get that break through injury. So a lot of guys that you see, like guys like Chris Jericho, who are longevity, you see they have that breaks. You know what I'm saying? They get that kind of year break. When Chris went from WWE to wrestling Kenny Omega at New Japan, he had that year break. So they get that breaks. Me, I was wrestling every month. You know what I'm saying? I didn't get that break. I was every month, and I went through divorces and all types of mental differences, from moving out, my dad, moving this, my mother passing away. So I've gone through like a roller coaster of just emotions on and on, and I didn't stop. So finally COVID hit, and I got a chance to just stop for a second. Never wanted to quit. Like, quitting's not an option. Once I get into something, I'll never quit it. I'll ride it till the wheels fall off, or I can't physically do it anymore. So quitting was an option, but it got me a chance to just slow down and refocus. And then once we came back out of the pandemic, the wheels clicked, and I was off to the races.
Gotcha. No, and again, I like that it's that idea of, even in that, the quitting was never an option. Yeah, it was finding, again, that almost that purpose for it, but it was always going to happen. It was finding that little bit of a fire again, finding something that's like, we're still going to do it, but now I want there to be a deeper reason for it, something that pushes it and keeps it going.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
Gotcha.
Absolutely.
So I do have to ask this though, with that, you talked about the evolution of the character and now even adapting into something different, but I want to find out for you, what was it that created this character? Where is it that we get the story of Absolute Alvin Alvarez? Where is this name coming from? And where do we see now the evolution of the Alvin that we know today?
It started as player one, just like any real wrestler, and then I kind of was the solution to pro wrestling. Like, I was fixing pro wrestling, which I don't know where that kind of went. So I kind of had that moniker for a couple of years. And then I needed something. I was going to Ace, and I was a heel. So I needed like this just asshole, like dickish, like something to call myself. And actually, Cade Lothbrock was the guy who came up with the name. He gave me a call when he was at work, and I was like, hey, what's up, man? And he was like, listen, a Absolute vodka truck just passed me. He's like, that's an asshole name, Absolute Alvin. And I was like, that works, man. You know what I'm saying? I was like, cool. And I was like, now what is it? And he's like, yo, you could try this. He's like, almost do like a corporate rock where you're just better than everybody. Like, you're absolute, like you're better than everybody. You have this lifestyle, like you're the A-list, you call yourself the A-lister, like this lavish lifestyle. And I was like, okay. And I kind of live it up through my promos, like almost live like the Ric Flair, almost like a Ric Flair type deal, and like a Ric Flair corporate rock mixture. And I said, okay, I could see what's going. So I started watching a lot of rock promos and Ric Flair stuff, and 2000 Rock and like 87, 88 Flair. And then I kind of came up with the character. And then him and I were walking through the flea market, and we saw like this little throw-looking thing. And I still have my original one back here. And he threw it on me, and he's like, what about this? And I put it on, and he's like, and I think it was just a rib, honestly. But I was like, all right. And he's like, you should buy it and wear it to the ring, but you got to walk through the rest of the flea market with it. Tri-County Flea Market in Nassau County. So like, all right. And I did it. I was like, but I could make it work. And I'm glad I did it, because that followed me through my career, because the A-listers wasn't supposed to be what it was. It's supposed to be this BS little stupid group, like the band group was, with Heath Slater, like some BS group like that. But we turned it into the top heel faction, because I took chicken shit, and I'm like, all right, I got with Jared, got with Mike Mistretta, I got with Kona, and I said, how can we make this special? And we made it special, so I did the same thing. So I had the gimmick, and I'm like, all right, we can make this work. And I made it work. I came out with the glasses, and we made it work. And then I had Spider make me a custom one, and then I had the purple custom one done, and now I'm in the process of making a nice pink one. So it continues, because no one does it. So I was like, this works. And I knew it clicked because I did the Lucha show for Fighting Spirit Wrestling. And I posted a couple months ago my entrance, and I did a promo. And just the way the commentators were talking about it, I knew it was over, because they were like, oh, what is he wearing? A bathrobe, and a bathroom rug? And I was like, I got him. I said, bingo, I'm never taking this off. And I wore it ever since.
No, definitely, it adds something to it. Like, just that's something I feel like at times people miss, is the first thing is that instant visual.
Yeah.
What creates that atmosphere already? The minute
Yeah.
you go through, already your theme is already like, that's it. When you hear that song play, The Good Life, you're already getting like, oh, so this guy already thinks he's just hot shit. And then you come out, you have that, you have the look that it's like, okay, now it just builds something. They might have never seen you before, but it's already like, I don't know what it is, especially when you're going that full heel route. It's like, oh, yeah, I can't stand this guy already. Like there's something about it that adds that element to it.
Yeah, and you need that on an entrance. I posted not too long ago, I posted Matt Cardona and his entrance gear and how he does his entrance. Not a lot of people focus on entrance gear and entrance. It's huge. Look at when Cody comes out and how they scream, oh, or when Seth comes out and they sing his entire song. That's what you need. You need something catchy. You need something that's going to grab people's attention, you know? And that's the only thing I thought of with that character, you know?
Gotcha. No, and again, it's worked. And again, seeing the evolution of it and seeing where it can go, it definitely, it shows that you've put that thought into it. You've put that process. Yeah. And again, it's one of those where it's that trial and error, finding what clicks, what works, what gets that reaction, and finding what it is that what truly encompasses who you are.
So right. And I always show love to Astro Morales, because when I first did the gimmick, I was in a program with him. And that's where I was trying. All right, man, let's see if this works tonight. All right, cool. And we did. All right, man, listen, I was watching this. Let me see if this works with the crowd. Okay, cool. And I would just and he was so awesome. He was like, yeah, man, whatever. Like, he was so cool and let me do different shit, because I was building this heel character from scratch. So I'm like, yo, let me try this. Like, I was watching this. I was watching Samoa Joe. I think I hit him with my first Uranagi, I think, was to Astro. Like, hey, man, listen, I'm going to try this in the corner. Let me try it with you. He's like, all right, man. And I've been using it ever since, you know, some stuff. So I just thank him, because he was like my test dummy. And it was cool. He let me do a lot of cool shit and formulate this character. So
shout out to the good brother there, Astro Morales. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he's a team player. He does it. He's tough in the ring. He's a nightmare in the ring. But hey.
He's strong. Yo, he picked me up for his power stuff. I wasn't even ready. I was selling. I turned. I didn't even give him the up, and I just turned, and he scooped me. I was looking straight, and then I was looking up. I was upside down. I was like, yo, what the? And took the bump, and I was like, yo, he scooped me right up, and he is so strong physically. By far the strongest guy I think I've ever been in the ring with, besides Claudio.
There you go.
Besides Claudio, Astro's the strongest guy I've ever been in the ring with, by far.
Claudio Castagnoli, definitely, he has that. He's showing it that strength is. Oh yeah, it holds no bounds there. There's a reason for it. So let's before we get to that, because I do want to talk about that experience and how that was. I do want to talk about this, because there was a post you had the other day talking about that lineage. When you talk about, especially the school you came out of, the training you got, there is an intense lineage that a lot of us gone through. Especially even us, we share that different sides of the branch, but there's still that family lineage is in there. Yeah. Of training. So for you, let's talk a little bit about that. If you can get into just having that lineage of it all starts with a certain guy, a certain ECW OG.
Certain crown champion.
So I still gotta call him, out of respect, I still gotta call him Grandpa Mikey, because that's when I met him the first time. He's like, okay, yeah, you could call us that. It's okay. So with that guy there, Mikey Whipwreck. So for you, let's talk about that lineage.
It starts with Mikey Whipwreck and really his influence on Long Island. So really, Long Island professional wrestling really begins with the Hardcore Wrestling Alliance, HWA. I talk about it all the time. Guys like Paul Lauria, Storm and Mike Norman, Mikey Whipwreck, Kevin Master Bates, Kid Ego, like guys like that, Tantalizing Tony, all those guys kind of win or associated with Win were the HWA. And that's where Mikey, they were all friends with Mikey, you know, so they were with him with ECW. And then he's like, listen, I'm going to open up a training school. And it started with the HWA. And then from there, it kind of went right on to the New York Wrestling Connection, because then the Long Island Wrestling Federation was also running shows along with the Doghouse, with guys like Papadon, Azriel, Mike Law, all those guys trained, Reefer. They trained at the Doghouse. So all kind of wrestling kind of intertwined right around 2001, 2002. And then New York Wrestling Connection came about, and he was the head trainer. So he trained him and John Kurse. John Kurse is also responsible for guys like Brian Myers, guys like Matt Cardona, guys like Dickie Rods. And then Mikey also helped train those guys as well. Trent Beretta, Alex Reynolds, Tony Burma, John Silver, all those guys are hands-on trained by Mikey Whipwreck. And then Mikey went on, and then those guys became trainers themselves. So then Pat Buck, he's a John Curse, he was trained by John Curse. And after he was trained, then he went on to open up his own training school. So then it kind of branched on to their own training schools. So then Nice and Alex Reynolds were NYWC, so they trained me. And then Brian Myers opened a training school, Open Creative Pro, and then he trained guys like Max Caster, MJF. And then now Max Caster's training guys. He trained guys like Bear Bronson, and now Bear Bronson's training guys. So it's all comes from Mikey.
It all starts right here. Then it's like you have just the branches of like when you look at, especially some of the bigger schools, there's something there.
Right.
And then you look at, again, it has that influence. It's either you're here, then it's, again, we talk about the infamous Doghouse as well. And that's branched out other places as well.
Yes.
It's like you have just little bits of that original scene has now become its own thing, and it shows its influence to this day.
Yeah. Mikey also trained the SATs, Amazing Red, Jay Lethal. So when they opened their school, so House of Glory, guess what? All the guys at House of Glory, all Mikey guys. All Creative Pro guys, those are Mikey guys. Some of the Wrestle Pro guys out in Jersey, they're Mikey guys. You know what I'm saying? Everybody that's training at Jay Lethal School down in Florida, they're all Mikey guys. You know what I'm saying? So Mikey Whipwreck has a huge influence on Northeast wrestling, world wrestling, really, but especially Northeast wrestling.
I was going to say, I think it's one of those where it even hits that world, because, again, a lot of the influence, I feel like, is shared no matter where you go, especially when someone, if they give a seminar, if they're training somewhere, you see that. You see those little things that, again, it passes on. Absolutely. And before we keep going, I want to make sure we give the shout out here. Low Rider in the chat there. What's up, brother?
You see Low Rider work?
Right? I actually did. I've gotten to watch. I got to see. I definitely, again, I do my research. I do my tape study.
Good.
I have to.
Again, this a long time ago, man.
I had to do my research. So I made sure I watched a little bit of everything. Always.
Yeah, Low Rider's my man. What up, Low Rider?
So, but definitely sharing that lineage and showing, again, it shows the influence, and it makes it shows why little things like that, why it continues, and why you see when it's certain people that it's like you already see it. When it's certain people in the ring, you see that it's okay, you see the influence there.
You can tell by the selling, you can tell by how they sell, how they work, how crisp the moves are, nothing sloppy. You can just look at the product and tell that guy was trained by a Mikey or someone trained by Mikey.
Yeah.
You know.
So there you go. So now let's get into that. Let's talk about that experience. I did want to talk about, we mentioned it a little bit earlier. You mentioned the strength of a certain individual, a certain ROH world champion, currently and still ROH world champion in Claudio. So let's talk about that. For you, how was it not only the experience at AEW, but then not only being just, again, you go in, you're thinking, okay, hopefully we get something out of it. We get the opportunity, and it becomes not only, okay, cool, yeah, you're doing dark tonight. AEW dark, it's like, that's something. Getting to work in front of the crowd, that's something. Yeah. But then being told, oh, yeah, stay in your gear because now you're going to work a match on Dynamite. So how was that whole experience for you?
Man, it was surreal. It's funny. I was talking to Nice. Tony Nice is one of my good friends, as we spoke for earlier in the podcast. And we went back to his hotel room, and I was talking to him. And he's like, look at you. He's like, your first arena match and your first television match in one night. So that's just sums it up, man. It was almost surreal. Like I was texting Jeff Apollyon throughout the whole night, and it was just, I kept pinching myself. Like it was just so surreal because you dream of these things, you know. So it's like I'm getting a little emotional now just thinking about it, man. Like you dream of this stuff over and over again. It's like just that photo of me with Brother Greatness and Aaron, and I want to have that printed out and signed by all the boys. My Brother Greatness, Aaron, I'm gonna sign it. And I want to keep a copy of that, man, because that's awesome. And that just culminates just having an arena. It was definitely one of my dreams to wrestle inside an arena setting in a hometown. So the Coliseum was always there because WWE was always there. So it was always the Coliseum. But now it changed to UBS. And just the fact to be there for the dark match was awesome. So we'll rewind the day. So I get there just like any other extra. You know, you don't know kind of what you're doing. The matches go up about 5:00, so you see if you have a match. Boom! I saw I had the match with the Dark Order. I have history with the Dark Order. I was trained by Alex Reynolds. I trained by John Silver. He was always at training. And Evil Uno I met that day, but easy to work with. And yeah, we went over everything, and it was super easy. And actually, before we went out for that match, Pat Buck came to me and he's like, "Listen, stay in your gear. we may have something for Dynamite. So there, I'm like, all right, I kind of now my brain is just overloaded here. So now I have to kind of strategize where something goes here. So I'm like, okay, I got this match on Dark. I got to focus on this. So I kind of back shelf that because things change in wrestling. Things change like that. So nothing's written down. Things change. So I was like, all right, don't focus on that right now. Got the match with Dark Order, get through that. My spots are super simple, so I knew what to do. So we go out there, and I don't have much time. So it's funny, my girlfriend Callan, she got tickets. She was there. So we kind of went out. As soon as I got in the ring, Dark Order's music hit, so I'm ready in character. And the match starts, boom, so we're off. So we're going through the match, and then right after the match is done, we're shipped right out. So I didn't have time to process anything. I kind of get in and out. So once that was done, then I kind of got a chance to kind of digest that. Went over that in my head, kind of how that went. Cool, everything went good. And then right kind of when I'm going over that, here comes Paul White, and he was the commentator. So right from there, I go, hey, Paul. And he goes, hey, what's up, Alvin? And I was like, hey, did you catch anything in the match? And he's like, I commentated it. And he's like, you know what? You had very little spots. He's like, what you did was good. Just keep at it, man. Just, like I tell everybody else, keep at it. So it's cool having that kind of talk with Paul really quick. And then I kind of just hung out my gear, and then and Papa, he came back up to us, all right, man, you guys are going to work in this. And then the Bullet Club came up. We went over our spots, and we were out there, man. And then I got a chance to kind of bring it in because we went out there, and it was during a commercial break. So we go out there, we're in the ring, and then I got a chance to kind of look around because we're on commercial break. So I'm kind of looking around, and now I'm getting a chance to take in the arena setting, which is kind of cool. And then Aubrey, who was our referee, she kind of gave us the countdown, and she was like, all right, we're back in 3, 2, and I'm like, all right, here we go. And then they made their entrance, and it was off, man. It was just cool. And it's funny because a lot of people ask me if I was nervous, and I have to say no, I wasn't. I felt at home, like I felt the most comfortable in the ring I've ever felt in AEW.
I was going to say, I feel like that moment, like at the beginning, for the dark spot, it's like, okay, cool. It's like, and we're going, we're in, we're done. Yeah. Like the moment with that match, especially that you're getting a whole commercial break of just like, okay, now we're in it. I feel like that would have caused like that. Oh, this is happening right now. We're about to, and then you just hear the countdown, which I can feel like it's a while. It's a good.
It was a minute because I got a chance to really look around, and then what kind of calmed me down because Aubrey was there and she was kind of giving me like the countdown, and I was talking. I was like, oh, it's interesting getting countdowns. Like we don't get this on the indies. And she was like, yeah. And she kind of tells me about how much money, like, she was like, yeah, if we go over like any second, like it's thousands of dollars. And I go, that's crazy. And then she goes, yeah, we're on in 3, 2. And I'm like, oh, let's go on. I'm like, okay.
I can imagine that. Now you're in your head like, so if we miss one spot, if we do this and we go, oh, okay. Now that's another, like, I don't know how that doesn't create a nerve. Like now it's like, crazy. It's like, wait.
And it didn't affect, I was like, yo, on, because at that time, Moxley was already here. So he's ready to slide it. I had no time to process anything. Yeah. And what's funny is I watch it back, and I'm thinking like, yeah, man, if I miss one cue, because I took the line from Moxley, sold around to take the boot to set up the pile driver. So as I'm selling around, I'm like, if I miss one cue, like, thank God I'm in the right spot.
That's seconds that could possibly still cost.
And I knew I got a little early, and I kind of knew I was a little early, so I kind of oversold a little bit. And then as I saw Mox, we made eye contact. I was all right, here we go. And I climbed the ropes, and he booped me off. And but yeah, man, if one of those little bit is off, like that's a lot of money.
Yeah,
So you have to. Man. I'm pretty good with my time. I'm pretty good with my ring time. If you give me 8 minutes, I could pretty much get within 20 seconds either way. I have to get a little tighter, but I'm all right. With just balancing time, because that's important now, especially at my stages of my career. It's important to make sure I hit my time. Gotcha.
So now I want to ask this because we talked about the training, we talked about the lineage. We've been this whole interview, we've gotten the mindset of yours, but I want to ask you, what was it that inspired this mindset for the business? Having that just that ever going mentality of it, was it from the training itself, or was this just something that you came into this with? Was it that moment of like, if I'm doing this, I have to have this kind of mentality to continue to do this?
Just overall respect for the business. I'm very, very proud of my pedigree, coming from Mikey Whipwreck, coming from Nice, Alex Reynolds, because very early on it was instilled in all of us, all the students. As soon as you walk in, you shake everybody's hand. You make eye contact with everybody. How you call your match. You're very respectful. You don't say, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. You say, okay, what if we do this? What if we do that? Just overall locker room courtesy. And I'm always myself. Like in any locker room setting, I'm just me. You know what I'm saying? So I'm a fan. So I come in and I'm shaking everybody's hand. I'm kind of chit-chatting with everybody, and I'll give you honest opinions, and I watch the show. And when I watch, and I'll critique anything. You know what I'm saying? And even Anthony Gang, even anybody, Anthony Gang going to Adam Kane, to anybody I worked with in the past, you know what I'm saying? I always break, if they ever want me to watch their match, I'll watch it. And that's just the type of guy I am. So I've always trained just to respect the business and show and treat people the way you've always been treated. I've always been taught that early on from when I was a child. But just to you have to show respect to get respect, and I would just believe that. So respect the business, respect the ring, make sure you wipe your feet before you get in the ring, just basic stuff like that, ring etiquette, and it's brought me to where I am now,
No, I have to ask that because I feel like this is something where I could see this definitely was already, it's in your head. It's there. It's something where you have that genuine, no pun intended here, but you have that genuine respect for the craft here. It's that mentality of it. And then you see the inspirations of everything. What's been your career, what's been in your path. That's like, this just continues to make it even better. It keeps adding on to that style and to that opinion of it. So that's great to hear.
And just respect what came before us. Even guys like the Dead Presidents, like Roll Rider and those guys. I watched those guys, man, when I was a fan. You know what I'm saying? Watching those guys, what they do in the Psycho Circuses and stuff like that. And even Tony Burma, who made his return at Outlaw. I watched him and Mikey Whipwreck in a dog collar match, as a fan. So even small stuff like that is cool. And that's what I focus on. Instead of focusing on AEW or NXT or New Japan, I focus on the little things, like getting a chance to be in the ring with Dickie Rods, who I watched, getting in the ring, even getting with Nice and Apollyon, guys that I've watched. Those are the small monumental moments in my career that I cherish, that I have written down, that I have photos of, that I can always relive and stuff like that. Like, that's the dream. Everybody always says that. That's really the dream, and that's really it. WWE is an end goal, awesome. Is AEW an end goal, awesome. If that's where wrestling takes me, that's where wrestling takes me. But it's all about these little moments and the journey. And I think I just went on one huge tangent.
What's perfect though is you kind of answered the last question I usually ask people, because I had a feeling that I knew where your answer was going to be, because I usually ask people before they leave is, what is their end goal? And I can imagine for you it's that it's like there is none. It's one of those where you're too focused on what's next instead of looking at everything that could happen next. So I was like, it kind of worked out with that tangent there.
I'd like to break down even another forbidden door in wrestling. Like the WWE AEW forbidden door. I was listening to Jim Ross's studio sessions. So Jim Ross's podcast, when he was out with the injury, Conrad Thompson posted a lot of the studio, and he had Gordon Soley on there. And I'm listening while I'm driving to work, and Gordon Soley talking about they actually touched on it. And a caller called up. This is in 1992. Caller called up and said, "Hey, I think Lex Luger was the WWE champion at the time. So, hey, can Lex Luger and Hulk Hogan ever wrestle?" And Jim Ross talked about it, about the WWE and WCW door. And he's like, unfortunately, and Gordon Soley went on to say, the door will never really be broken. But he goes, I shouldn't say never, because you really never know. And I'm like, wow, man, that door still hasn't been broken, and that's in 1992, so that's 30 years ago. I feel like that's my focus in wrestling, or maybe I have more of a focus as a human being. I don't know. I'm very spiritual and shit, so I think about all this stuff. So I don't know, maybe I have a better focus. Maybe I should be a world speaker. Who knows? But I just know wrestling is a platform that I love, and I think about 24/7, and I enjoy doing, and I'm getting paid great money to do it. And something I would do for free. I get paid great money to do it, put a down payment on my home. So, it's stuff like that. So wherever it takes me, man, I'm riding the wave, and I'm enjoying it, and I'm documenting it, and I couldn't ask for anything better at this point.
Gotcha. Which I do want to ask before we do start wrapping this up here. What was it that made you want to document every match? Because that is something I feel like a lot of us should probably do, especially like I love the commentary gig that I'm doing. I feel like that should be something, and I kind of do because I write down every match for note wise. But I feel like I want to keep that book of just having all the matches. What was it for you that made you decide this is something I want to do? Make sure I have that recollection where I was able. Well, I saw the other day you posted it of that 300th match and having all that. What is that for you that it was like this is something you have to do?
You know, when I first started training, Nice handed me Chris Jericho's first book, Around the World in Spandex. In that book, he says that he recorded his matches. I think at the time he was just over 1,000. So I said, okay, if I do decide to actually make this happen, I'm going to record all of my matches. So I got a book, and I started from match 1, recording, and it's honestly Chris Jericho. He did it, and then I went back and listened to one of his podcasts. He goes over his first match, and he talks about where he got the idea to record his matches. He was talking to Bruce Hart, and he goes, "Hey man, like you know like how many matches you had?" And Bruce is like, "No, nobody ever keeps track of that shit." And then Chris Jericho's like, "Wow, I can go to any museum and see like Metallica concerts, and I could see the history." He's like, "Why would anybody do that?" And that's why Chris did it. So that's why I do it. You know what I'm saying? And it's cool in my era. And Chris was talking about this too in the same podcast. He goes, "Unfortunately, there wasn't a lot of cameras back then." So he has video of his first match with Lance Storm, but he doesn't have a lot of photography. So I'm blessed that I had a lot of not only videography, but photography of a lot of my matches. So this month I'm going to sit with Phil Ramos, and we're going to go over a lot of the book. So we're going to go kind of from year by year and go highlight a lot of my career. Then eventually I do want to write a book and have all my matches in it, along with photos, along with a cool description, who I had heat with at the time, if I did, blah, blah, you know, go into all that cool stuff. So eventually I'll write the book, you know, my girlfriend I'll write the
See, there you go. That could have been the end goal right there. That's a goal.
Yeah,
not even an end goal. That's a goal there to have that, to be able to tell that full encompassing story there. And again, that's something I feel like it's almost something that should be a part of the craft, having that documented, not even just for wrestling itself, but one of those where, hey, you can tell that story of, I had these opportunities. This is what I've done. And just looking back at like, man, this is what I've done so far. Yeah. And look at where we're going now. It's always great.
Yeah. It's man, it's a cool journey. So it's cool to have it documented, you know?
Definitely. But guys, if you haven't already, make sure you go follow Alvin so you can continue seeing that journey as well. Follow him right there on Instagram, AJ4U2C right there. Follow him on Twitter at AJ4U2C. Also, we're going to try to get him on Thread. We talked about it off the air. We're going to try to get Alvin on Thread. We're going to see if we can get him on there.
My Twitter.
Get him just go watch that as well. Go follow that. Make sure you're staying up to date so you're able to see when more matches are coming as well. But like we said, these next 2 coming up, make sure you're there if you're in the area or you're able to make it down. Go see Alvin challenge for that NYWC Fusion Championship. But again, a mashup we definitely want to make sure you're there for. Here we go. Before we end it here, show that last comment there. Thank you, Anthony, for the support there. But again, also make sure you're there because it will be the battle in Bay Shore. It will be Alvin Alvarez versus Kane Industries Zone, Dr. Sleep, Anthony Gangone. And now it's I want to say thank you, Alvin. I want to ask before we go, was I cordial? Was it a civil interview? Were we good? To
be 100% honest, and I'm always honest, probably one of my favorite interviews. Not gonna lie to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Again, see, for everyone watching, and I hope they watch the replay as well. See, I do what I say I was gonna do. I did the hour. We went over an hour. We're an hour and 3 minutes. So I fulfilled my time. So that means as well, I'll be there on Saturday at Battle in Bay Shore. And now that we've done the interview, we're done. We're done with the obligation to see Dr. Sleep put you to sleep. And on that note, everyone, as always, don't forget to be wise, be genuine, be real, be better people, respect the craft, and remember.
Send him a message for me and tell him I hope he brings extra underwear because I'm beating the shit out of him on Saturday. Let him know that. How about that, Ray? We can end it on that note. On that note, good night.
We'll see you guys on the next one.